Hello, Ray Phoenix here. Welcome to Let's Play LEGO Star Wars: A Video Game, the Game Boy Advance version, Part 3. We suddenly appeared on Tatooine for no known reason, and we're playing as Qui-Gon Jinn again. We're going to be killing these sand people, going around killing them. This really reminds me of that PS1 Star Wars Episode 1 game, where you could actually play as Qui-Gon Jinn in the Dune Sea, and you could run around and kill the sand people. It's almost setting up what's going to be happening in the next movie, the next Star Wars prequel. And Anakin Skywalker was heavily influenced by Qui-Gon Jinn. Maybe this is where I got the idea to become the sand people murderer, so just to go around and murder the sand people. And Qui-Gon likes to turn into a ghost again, where he just walks around slowly. It's actually kind of a useless thing. And look at that, there's that Sarlacc pit. There's just randomly sitting out there, and you can somehow go like, whoa, it's like you're getting bumped around. Almost looks like Norbot a bit from Wallace and Gromit: Vengeance Most Foul when he's getting charged. I got a DVD of that for Christmas recently. I think it's pretty good. It's a pretty good Wallace and Gromit movie, or special, or short, or whatever it is you want to call it. It's a little bit longer than a full feature, than one of the, what do you call them, like the short films. It's a bit longer than a short film. It's not as long as a full feature film. This game is not as long as a full feature game either. This game, not surprisingly, is kind of short. So for some reason, we're supposed to use the Force to get that radar dish, or that satellite dish, or that is to work, and somehow it's gonna make that land speeder appear so we can ride it into the city. Yeah, riding it into the city. I remember when Qui-Gon Jinn did that in the movie, when he rode one of those sand speeder things into the city that we're going into. We're going out into the city to buy some stuff, some parts, and we always send the least logical character to the city. Still, Qui-Gon Jinn isn't a very logical or reasonable or rationally minded character. Why do they call him Qui-Gon Jinn all the time? It's probably because he's drunk all the time. He always makes stupid decisions. A lot of people say Episode 1 was one of the worst decisions ever made, but of course I actually like that movie, so I don't think it was a bad decision. But there's like some puzzle solving. That's probably why they didn't set it up like this. You just stand out like that and use the Force to slowly move the sand speeder, or whatever you call that thing, or land speeder, or whatever you call that thing, over this large chasm so we could get over to where the city is going to be parked right there. Look, there's a power-up waiting for us. It's actually kind of hard to pick up this power. Oh, there we go. We got some of them. Sometimes power-ups are impossible to pick up because you land the speeder like right over them, so your sprites aren't capable of touching each other, so it's going to be impossible to connect. It's really hard to tell what's what sometimes in an isometric game. That kind of reminds me of that game on the Sega Genesis, Sonic Isometric Blast. I remember that game, that Sonic Isometric Blast, like the Genesis thing. It still has it. Game Boy Advance is kind of like that too. Game Boy Advance is somewhat on its way out when this game came out. I remember I had this game a long time ago. On the back of the box, it mentions it's compatible with the Nintendo DS. The Nintendo DS was out by the time this game came out. But they didn't make a DS version for some reason, probably because they figured I could just play it on your DS if you have one. So we're at Mos Eisley, not Mos Espa, Mos Eisley. And we see that little boy Anakin over there with some ghoulish looking character that kind of looks like they could be his mummy, maybe. Like in that song by Weird Al, The Saga Begins, he left his home and kissed his mummy goodbye, and in the LEGO music video for it shows an actual mummy and their arm falls off. I remember that was one of the first videos I saw on YouTube a long time ago, where someone made a music video for The Saga Begins by Weird Al in LEGO. Saga Begins is one of the first songs I've ever memorized in its entirety by Weird Al. That song really is a masterpiece, and still is today, where he sums up the whole story to Star Wars Episode 1 in only like 5 minutes and 12 seconds or something like that, or in a much shorter amount of time than the actual movie. Some people like to listen to that rather than watch the actual movie, and somehow he did it only through listening to leaks, like leaked information that fans posted on fan sites about what's going to happen in Star Wars Episode 1. I remember I was watching that Screensaver special a long time ago about the release of Star Wars Episode 2, and I remember they went to some website where people were like giving rumors and stuff about Star Wars Episode 2 in 2002, and that was just before the movie came out. There's even some rumors about Star Wars Episode 3 on that website too. Yeah, people already predicting what Star Wars Episode 3 was going to be like in 2002, before 3 years where that movie was going to get released. Episode 2 wasn't even released yet, and people were already theorizing stuff about Episode 3. I wonder how these sand people just ended up randomly in the city. Those people usually stay on the outskirts of the town or the outskirts of the city, and they rarely ever come to the city, but for some reason they seem to be invading the city. And they actually are some of the toughest, most difficult enemies to combat in this game. Even for a high powerful Jedi like Qui-Gon Jinn, they're still pretty tough to kill. Maybe the Trade Federation should have hired those sand people to be their troops rather than battle droids. No one's gonna miss them when they're gone. They would make awesome soldiers. I remember they were pretty rough in that game, Star Wars Battlefront. They actually kill without mercy, and somehow they got their hands on laser guns, which isn't really that much of an uncommon thing. Sand people's guns are supposed to be like projectile weapons, much like a real shotgun or a handgun or something like that from real life, but and then one of the few video games that actually accurately depicted that was Star Wars Episode 1 Jedi Power Battles, which this level is also kind of like something that Star Wars Episode 1 Jedi Power Battles do. The more I think of it now, this level actually is in theory superior to the home console version. There wasn't really a Tatooine level like this in the home console version. Instead, it makes you do this really stupid racing that was kind of like that Star Wars Episode 1 racer game, only it's a lot worse. It's like a strict time limit, and it's very easy to mess up and get killed. There were a lot of kids that used to rip out their hair. Well, there was a whole generation of kids back then that went bald from ripping out their hair because of that level. It was so poorly made. I mean, they did correct it a little bit in the complete Saga version, but it was like completely horrendous originally. That's one level. It was the one thing that stopped me from getting the game 100% complete when I was a kid, until a friend of mine showed me how to really do it. And then afterwards I thought, okay, so I tried it again, and no, I don't think it's that hard anymore. And that's how I finally got to 100% complete Lego Star Wars the video game. It was a pretty great game overall. Of course, it's a lot better than this, obviously, but I still think this is actually a few things the GBA version does better than the home console version. This level actually is a bit better than that stupid race thing it makes you do, and there are no vehicle levels or speeder levels or starfighter levels or anything like that in this version of the game. And some people might say maybe that's a good thing. Maybe the game is just staying true to what it's supposed to be. A Lego game, a game where you play as Lego people and you walk around, you hit and you attack other enemies and whatnot, and it probably inspires kids to try to do this at home. Do this at home, kids, of your own Lego. Because those are the minifigures and Lego stuff that appears in this game. It's stuff that actually was made in real life, and Lego Star Wars was out for years by the time this game came out. So people could have had these things in Lego, and maybe you could have actually set them up and played with them yourself. I remember I used to do that because of games. I remember Lego Loco used to inspire me to try to build my own cities and towns in Lego. And she had some photos of some Lego cities that I made over the years, thanks to Lego Loco. We didn't get any Death Star plans. We killed 57 battle droids, and that alone gave us knight status. Yeah, we barely got knighted the status of a knight. Done well, you have, Young Jay. Look, we unlocked a Tusken Raider. Yeah, the toughest character in the enemy in the game has just been unlocked. That means no other enemy is as tough as the Tusken Raider. Now this is the final level of Star Wars Episode 1. Yeah, Star Wars Episode 1 is already over. We're going to be playing as Jar Jar Binks, and we're actually going to be fighting against the Trade Federation, another thing of the console version of this game left out. But you get to play as the Gungans, you have to fight against the battle droids, and that's Jar Jar's special. Remember the first video when I mentioned every character has a special move? Well, it's not just best limited to Jedi too, it's even non-Jedi characters have special moves too. Like Jar Jar Binks, for example. I press the R button, Jar Jar Binks flails his arms around, he goes, oh, and he runs around like an autistic kid in a plain white room where he just randomly flails his arms around like some of those, and he's kind of like those autistic kids, remember they had at my high school. They just randomly run around the hallways and they yell stuff. One of them picked up the teacher's laptop and threw it into the ceiling, and feeling stuff, and they rampage and stuff too, and it makes kids think that autistic people are naturally like that. Teaches them very accurate depictions of what autism is like. Now we see Anakin has just stole a Naboo starfighter, and now he's going to take you up into space, and now look, it's the Battlefront. I guess this is like a reference to Star Wars Battlefront, maybe. It's kind of like a reverse version of the original Star Wars Battlefront, the first level. Or instead of being the Trade Federation fighting against the Gungans, we're being the Jar Jar Binks and fighting against the Trade Federation. I wouldn't say we're playing as the Gungans, because Gungans is plural should imply there's more than one. but there isn't more than one. This is Jar Jar Binks fending for himself. Apparently in this version, all the Gungans are sissy wussies that don't want to fight in combat. They're too scared to see combat. The only one that has balls of steel is, of course, Jar Jar Binks. So he's the only one that we have that's going to be going against, just taking matters into his own hands. He's a one-man army. He's a one-man wrecking crew. He's just going in there and destroying them and showing no mercy and just splattering their brains all over the grass over there. Worth another life. Yeah, you're definitely going to be needing that because Jar Jar Binks is also very weak. He only has one weapon, too. It's really hard to position where your projectile of gunfire is going. So I can't buy any more health because I don't have enough studs for that. I could go and kill this guy and kill that droid. I'm just kind of doing hit and run tactics where I kind of run around, shoot at them, kill them. And there's those things. Somehow those things appear to be mounted into the ground. Wonder how the Trade Federation mounted those into the ground. They must have done themselves, but I don't think those things like that would have been mounted by the Naboo forces or the Gungans or anything like that. And look at that, it's not even shooting at me. Even this thing has a really poor aim. It sounds like a stormtrooper where they can't really see very well as to where they're shooting at. It's gonna run away from the battle droid. Those battle droids must not be able to see very well, because sometimes you like walk right in front of the battle droids and they just ignore you. Almost like that glitch I found in LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga, where enemies just suddenly, for no apparent reason, just ignore you sometimes. I don't know why that glitch happens or how that glitch happens. Then again, I know nothing about programming games. I tried to program games once a long time ago, but I kind of gave up with that. Just recently I gave away a book that I had from like years ago on programming in C#.net programming. Yeah, C# or B flat. I never really liked C# that much. I don't think I'll ever be working in that again. It is somewhat different from the regular Microsoft C programming language, which I don't even know much about that either. I'm just not really much of a coder myself either. The only coding language I was ever truly good at was Microsoft Visual Basic, or whatever language that uses. Visual Basic was my favorite IDE. Some people even made emulators using Visual Basic. I remember a long time ago watching a video about that, where someone made an emulator, an NES emulator, using Visual Basic. It only plays Super Mario Brothers, but it was still pretty impressive that someone used Visual Basic to make an NES emulator. There's only 7 droids left, 7 Trade Federation troops left. And they have their guns out, and they're going to be shooting at me, trying to kill me. I always got the idea the Trade Federation was more like some kind of evil army, or like the, like some villain's army kind of thing, the Trade Federation, which is kind of an odd name for an army. You know it's supposed to be a Trade Federation, like some trade dispute thing, but still, the fact that trade people would have an army like that, where they actually kill people over tax evasion, man, this galaxy is rough. They give all their money to space, so giving all their money to space Obama is already enough of a challenge, but there we go. I think we just killed the last, or one of the last ones there. There we go, we did kill the last one now. Anakin blew up that thing. Little hotshot flew his plane and saved the day. And now we're all being surrounded by these battle droids. Jar Jar realizes he's gonna die, which I don't think anyone really cares if he did die. I mean, since when did anyone ever care about Jar Jar Binks? Jar Jar Binks is the character is the most worthy of getting killed. And yet somehow he doesn't get killed for some reason. Some lore or whatever it is, some website things say that Jar Jar Binks apparently was still alive during Return of the Jedi and apparently got a job being an entertainer on Naboo, and people hated him. I'm not surprised that people hate him, and Jar Jar could flail his arms around again here too, like he's doing. It would make even more sense if they made him do it to the Shakarone Macaron. Remember the Shakarone Macaron song? And that song about that horse that has 2 legs and just runs really fast? That 2-legged horse is really a chicken or something like that, but it runs to the Shakarone Macaron. Shakarone his macaron. Let's collect as many studs as I could. And Naboo Royal Palace. This doesn't look like the Royal Palace of Naboo. This looks more like some third generator room. Because you know George Lucas always likes for lightsaber duels to happen in the most spacey, Star Wars-y type of environments possible. It's been a tradition ever since. I remember it's like in Star Wars Episode 4 and Obi-Wan and Darth Vader met in that corridor and they had a duel. Or like in Empire Strikes Back when Luke fought Darth Vader in some unknown, odd part of Bespin. And then, lightsaber duels are always set in the strangest places. They're the strangest environments that no one would really think of. And for some reason, the game suddenly remembered Obi-Wan was supposed to be in this game, and even though we've been playing as Qui-Gon for the last several levels, we don't play as him at all in this level. Instead, the game only makes us play as Obi-Wan and no one else. It's like Qui-Gon suddenly doesn't exist anymore, and now Obi-Wan is all that there is. It's like the game just remembered that, oh yeah, I forgot we had Obi-Wan. Yeah, let's just make him a playable character now too. We haven't used him in a while. There we go, he just murdered Qui-Gon, and now we're going to take on Darth Maul using the Force. The Force is my ally, a powerful ally it is, and I just used it to decimate half of his health right there. That's a really easy way to beat this boss. Just hide over here, let your Force stamina build up a little bit, and once your stamina's pretty good, you just run up to him and just throw a lot of Force at him, and that's going to cause a lot of damage to him. That's going to cause him, yeah, it's going to cause, look, he already has, like, almost half of his health is gone already. Yeah, almost half of his health is gone already, and I still have a considerable amount of my health left. He's hanging out back here. He's just running in there like he's blind and stupid. I mean, Darth Maul is one of the dumbest people in Star Wars, so I'm not surprised about that. He might actually be dumber than Jar Jar Binks a lot of the time. You know, I'm looking dumb too. This is probably the dumbest fight that could ever happen. This is like the kind of, like, if you put Harry and Blade from Dumb and Dumber into Star Wars and made them be lightsaber duelists, the fight would probably look something very similar to this. Just seeing them run at each other like that and going like, yeah, and running around like that. Kind of reminds me of a fight that a former friend of mine got into at a TV station that he worked at once as a former mayor of my city. Apparently got into some sort of scrap with him, like some sort of fight with him. That would be hilarious if it actually aired on TV. It'd probably become lost media if that happened, but it's still pretty funny to think about that. This is something that's pretty cool. You can actually clash swords with someone and can actually, like, hammer the B button and point the D-pad in the direction where the boss is, and there we go, look, we just killed him. Obi-Wan went brute force on him, and using his very own lightsaber, he cut Darth Maul in half. And for some reason, it plays the love theme, the romance love theme from Episode 2, to indicate that someone's dead. That's the theme, that's the love theme from Star Wars Episode 2. That has nothing to do with someone getting killed. But I guess the people who made this game were too dumb to realize that. They clearly knew nothing of Star Wars. And there we go, Episode 1 is now complete. There's no special ending, no nothing really. We just unlocked Darth Maul, unlocked a secret code that probably does nothing, and now we're on to Episode 2. This is Ray Phoenix, signing out.